no matter how many francs he had already handed over. "I like my privacy," he muttered, as if in explanation, and ushered her inside. He closed the door and then turned on a small gas lamp that cast long shadows across the dusty floor. Her heart sank further. The place was dirty and looked neglected. She thought she could make out a table in the far corner, but the meagre light fighting its way through the grimy glass housing didn't reach that far. He moved closer until they were standing face to face. He grasped her upper arms. Once again she was surprised by his strength, especially when he looked so sickly. She ignored the purplish patches on his slightly bloated face, instead staring into his blue eyes. He looked nervous, and she warmed to him for that. She was a kind-hearted girl. "Don't worry. We'll have a nice time," she said, smiling and tilting her head coquettishly. She imagined he would like that. "Just you leave it up to me." She stretched her hand down to rub between his legs and gasped slightly. He fired up fast, this one. But he squeezed her arms tighter and pushed her further into the workshop. She was a little shocked by his sudden roughness and tripped over her feet. And once again he held her up. "You don't strike me as the rough type, Cherie." She laughed a little, wanting to lighten the sudden tension. "Why don't we slow it down? Why don't you—" "Do you see it?" He shook her slightly. "Behind me. Can you see it?" For the first time that evening, something unpleasant unfurled in her stomach, hinting at bad choices made, the worst kind of choices. She looked into those blue eyes again. They were wide, intense, and she realized she had misread them. This wasn't nerves or shy fear of sex. This was something else. Something completely other. This was madness. Her heart thumped loudly, and the last warmth of drunkenness dissipated into cool dread. "Why don't you let me—" "Can you see it?" he hissed, spraying spit into her face. She flinched, both from him and the sour stench of his breath. He was sick. She was sure about that. The chill in her gut spread into her limbs, and suddenly she was trembling. "You can have your money back. Just let me go." She tried to wriggle free, but his hands were clenched around her arms like vices. The splintered edge of the table behind her dug into her thighs. Metal clanked against metal, and she saw tools spread across the tabletop. What were they for? Tears pricked suddenly at the corners of her eyes, and she sniffed them away. She was being foolish. He was mad, she could see that, but that didn't mean he was going to hurt her. The rush of blood in her ears and the panic loosening her bladder made her thoughts unconvincing. "You must see it," he continued. "Behind me. Right behind me. You must see it." She stared into the shadows over his shoulder. Maybe if she placated him, then he'd calm down. She focused on the closed door and the lamp. They were so close, and yet so far away. She needed him to relax. If he relaxed, then she could get away. She was sure of it. "I don't know," she stuttered, her mouth dry. Her eyes flicked from his face to the door behind him. "There's something there, I think. Maybe if we get closer to the light, maybe then I could see properly." She licked her lips. "Please, if we go near the door where the light is, then I can look. I'm sure I can see something." She was speaking quickly, and she wondered if he even understood her. She saw her own terrified face reflected in his dark orbs as he stared at her. A frown crept across his face and settled in a ripple of wrinkles on his forehead. After a moment, it twisted into a sneer. "You cannot see it," he whispered eventually. "You cannot." He smiled at her, and she found that she was sobbing. "But I will tell you a secret,"